Welcome to Real Medicine, Real Lives. I'm Dr. Yassir Sonbol, and together we're showing medical expertise in a human way. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Real Medicine, Real Lives. I'm your host, Dr. Yassir Sonbol, and on this show, we're going to explore how breakthroughs in science and technology are transforming patient care in real and human ways. Today, we're diving into something that on every healthcare leader's radar, but still feels mysterious to many: artificial intelligence. Joining us today is one of the country's leading voices in emerging technology, Dr. Allen Badeau. He's the CEO of Allen Badeau LLC and founder of Harmonic AI. 20 years of advanced experience in technology, including AI, cybersecurity, and quantum systems. Dr. Badeau has led massive transformations for commercial government clients alike. Today, he's helping us understand how AI really works and what it means for your next doctor visit. Dr. Badeau, welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So this is a very, very interesting topic. Obviously, AI is very up and coming, and it's just progressing day by day. And clearly, it's really been involved in healthcare a lot. People are using it to research. People are using it to transcribe notes, all sorts of things to try to simplify. I think it's really simplified our life in a way, although I think it's kind of dumbed us a little bit. But at the same time, it's simplified us. So maybe we start by just talking about AI in healthcare, and maybe you can give people a kind of an idea in simple words how AI is involved in healthcare nowadays.
Yeah. So the challenge with AI, and if you think about the involvement in healthcare, is that you've got folks that see things on ChatGPT and these other mediums, and they treat it like Google, and they are asking it for medical diagnoses, right? It's really, if you think about AI just in general, it's like a super smart, helpful, assistant. It's read thousands of medical books. It has complex mathematical equations. It's got data. It's got the ability to recognize certain patterns and features. And, that's honestly what makes it a good tool for, the medical profession if it's used the right way.
Gotcha. And so can you give us a story, for example, that's something that you witnessed that AI has helped the patient get better or helped with their care?
Yeah, the biggest thing is really around, the image scans, whether it's an X-ray or whether it's, CT scans or things like that, its ability to take millions and millions of those data points and put them all together and see patterns that, sometimes are more difficult for, physicians, or I would just say, it can be borderline based on experience, right? That AI is able to capture and to pick up. I mean, there's so many different cases of potential mysterious illnesses, or maybe a child is presenting symptoms that are not typical of a child, for example, that AI may be able to find use cases. It may be able to find things that are very similar that allow it to more quickly, diagnose, an illness that may take a little bit longer for a physician to do.
Gotcha. Okay. And so AI is obviously evolving, and although it's a computer and it's pretty smart, but how does AI, for example, learn not to make mistakes on people? Because it can make a lot of mistakes, and you kind of have to, just in my experience when using it, you got to have to kind of some stepwise fashion to get to where you need to be with AI.
Yeah, that's exactly right, because it is super smart, but it's also super dumb.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, forget about that aspect of it, especially, some patients may believe everything that the AI says, right? And, a good example is, it's training. That's fundamentally how it's gonna perform. As AI is learning, as it's taking in more information and more data, the biggest impact to those are going to be those edge cases, meaning, somebody, we're not quite sure if they're this or if they have this. We're not sure if we should treat it with this or we should treat it with that. AI is going to get the easy stuff more than likely. It can make mistakes, but those edge cases where it's not quite sure, I mean, you guys would call them the hard calls, or maybe a patient, maybe a train wreck or something like that. Those are the cases that AI really needs to learn in order to really, be of greater assistance. And in some cases, it's just not there, and that's why you have to have a physician in the loop making those right calls, because in some cases AI just may get it wrong, or they may get lucky.
It's interesting you said that. I've read tweets from Bill Gates, for example, that says, in about 20 years, AI is going to replace physicians in general, and we'll no longer need physicians, but artificial intelligence is going to take care of patients. Kind of like the theory that robots are going to replace human workers. How do
Hmm.
you feel about that? And what's your thoughts about that as somebody with an expert in artificial intelligence, and the notion that artificial intelligence and what we can do with it is actually going to replace humans?
I With all due respect to Mr. Gates, I disagree from that perspective, because the reality is, AI is not anywhere close to that. And in 20 years, there's a lot that can happen in 20 years. But the realities are that having a trained physician in the loop who makes those hard judgment calls is going to not go away for a very long time, because, you know, AI is only going to be as good as its data. And we have seen that these large language models are trained on millions and billions of pieces of information. And those pieces of information can still be correlated wrong. They can be put together and give you the wrong answer. And so I don't see that changing for a very long time. It's always going to be fundamental from my perspective. And if I was a patient, that if I have some sort of disease or some sort of cancer or whatever that is, I want a physician working with the AI. That's fine, but I want a physician to make that call. I don't want the AI to only make that call.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, and I feel the same way. I always tell people when they ask me that, because I'm a cardiologist, and people say that to me, and I say, I just think there's a human aspect to medicine that artificial intelligence can't compensate for. Meaning,
Exactly.
a patient is crying in your office, just the notion of reaching for a tissue for them, or holding their hand, or providing comforting words, just really doesn't fit with artificial intelligence. They may be able to give that to you, but there's an emotional aspect that you can never teach AI.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. And we build what we call cognitive agents, and they have human traits. They behave the same, similar. They can answer it from different perspectives. But you're exactly right. At the end of the day, the reality is that you want to have a human to human interaction when you're in a very scary environment in some cases, right? Just because you don't know what's going to happen. And having an AI tell you is going to be very different than having a human tell you. And I don't think, even if it could, I don't think we would still want to have that done.
right. So what can everyday families, when they're going to a doctor's visit, how is AI helpful, or how they can use it, to be prepared when they go see a physician?
What I tell people is use it to ask questions. What sort of questions can I ask the physician to respond to? Because you've seen it probably as I know we have as a cardiologist, right? People will come in, they're intimidated, they're not quite sure what to ask because they don't want to, ask a dumb question. Use AI to ask questions. Don't use AI to diagnose. I'm probably well, I know I am. I'm probably one of the worst patients because I see commercials on TV that tell you what the side effects are for these new drugs that are coming out, and I have every single one of them, every one, and I'm like, okay, I'm dying. There it is. Don't use AI to make those decisions. Don't use it to to say, oh yeah, you've got this, and this, and it's some complex thing that nobody, maybe two people in the world have, right? Because AI is going to be that way. It's going to go to the dramatic. Use it to say, I have something. What questions can I ask my provider? And ask them to explain it in a way that's going to be easy for me to understand. That's what they should be using AI for.
Gotcha. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I tell people all the time when they say, I Googled this, and so I have all these questions, and I'm like, I went to school for so long, there's so many websites and so much information. Yeah, it's overwhelming. And I think
Yeah.
that's, the probably the disadvantage of all this technology that we're creating is, the overfeed of information that people just don't know how to discern because we don't have the experience, you know?
That's right. That's
So,
right.
I mean, I can't discern engineering off of, stuff because I'm not an engineer. So,
Yes.
so
Yeah, and people forget that all the time.
right, right. So, I tell my family this all the time. I'm like, it's interesting. Everybody's a physician nowadays. That's the reality of it. It's we don't know anything, but only and true patients know their own bodies, and there are things that they know about themselves, but the science and the know about the pathophysiology of it is really unclear to people, and it's hard to explain because we spend so much time learning it. And so, yeah, I
That's
know.
right.
I completely agree with you.
And it's great at recognizing patterns. That's what it's good at. It's good at recognizing patterns because it's taking all this data and it's putting it together. But that doesn't mean it's good at correlating, you know, different illnesses that all come together and making a decision. AI is just not ready for that.
Right. So somebody's the claim of robots in medicine. So somebody's nervous about it. What might be a fact that you might tell them to calm their fears about robots in medicine?
Well, I would say that, there've been different robots, if you kind of think about it, for a while, medical devices, scans, reading some scans, x-rays, really was the start of AI participating in those kind of things. What I would say is if you're nervous about it, you should ask your physician, is it used in certain parts of the process? And are they involved in the final decision that is made on whatever my treatment plan is going to look like? It's good to be, you know, to ask those questions to make sure you understand where AI is supposed to be in the process, but then know for sure what sort of manner it's used for and how that treatment plan came into place. Because otherwise, you're not going to know. You may see something on your insurance that may surprise you, and just being open and asking those questions is going to be good.
Great. Well, Dr. Badeau, thank you so much for breaking this down in such a human and clear way. Can you give us an idea if any of the followers want to figure out how to talk to you or reach out to you, where you're available? Just kind of give us an idea how they can contact you.
Yeah, sure. So they can go to my LinkedIn page. Very easy to find there. It's just LinkedIn dash Allen Badeau. Or they can go to my website, or they can watch my TV show on Now Media Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central. It's called AI Today with Dr. Badeau.
Great. All right, everybody, hang tight. We're going to come back with Dr. Badeau for some more information about artificial intelligence. We'll be back after a few minutes. Stick with us. We'll be right back with more real stories, real breakthroughs, and real lives transformed.